Hall joining us for today's community segment featuring Running on Ice, that coolest community in freight, as we said earlier. Mary, thank you for joining us this morning. Before we get started, rumor has it that you are seeing the Queen herself, Taylor Swift, this weekend, right?
I am actually going to see her tonight. After this, I'm going to head over to Kansas City and have myself a purple, sparkling, enchanted evening.
I'm thrilled for you. If you have to pick your surprise songs, what are you expecting to hear tonight?
Oh, I have already, as much as I would love to see Last Kiss and New Year's Day, I have a strong feeling it's going to be all Speak Now content. So as long as I get Last Kiss in there, I'm pretty happy.
I love it. Send me videos, and I'm living vicariously through you.
Happily.
So, Mary, jumping into it, because I don't have much Taylor Swift content on my end. Can't name a single song, but I am a fan of the vibes. When we're looking at getting into the space, of course, we're talking about niches today and how important it is to really find your specialty. Can you tell us on really how to go about finding that specialty and really honing in on that?
Yeah, so that's actually something that we cover pretty in depth on our episode today with Royce Neubauer. He and SFL companies, they specialize in produce. So they specialize in being a broker that moves produce. It was kind of a nice episode to have the best of both worlds happening, where I got to have brokerage and cold chain. So it was a really nice little crossover event. But basically, one of the things, because it's supply chain, it's logistics for the most part, everyone moves freight from point A to point B about the same. Like, there's not some magical mystery way to move freight. It's all just kind of moving from point A to point B. So it's being able to find your niche really kind of helps you, solidify your customer base, have that expertise, and say, hey, I really am good at this one thing, and I don't have to worry about, trying to be good at 700 other things. And I'm not just another dry van freight broker. It's something that I can, do and like hang my hat on, and it's my specialty. So being able to have that does mostly make it easier to get into those more niche things, whether it's automobiles, produce, pharma, anything like that. Or like home delivery for subscription boxes. Being able to be good at that kind of gets you in the door easier, because you can tell that shipper, like, hey, we've got 20 years of moving produce exclusively, experience behind us. So you can absolutely trust us with your freight.
Some people have niches in the music industry, and some people have incredibly diverse music tastes and music playlists, right? And the same can be said when you relate it to brokerage. I'm going to try and relate everything to Taylor Swift for you this segment, just so we know. But when we're talking about that kind of diversification...
I'm here for it. I'm loving this.
When we talk about that diversification versus specialization, is there a sweet spot to land in the middle? Like, should I only focus on knowing every word to Taylor Swift's discography, or should I broaden my horizons and know like maybe 3 or 4 artists instead?
I would definitely say broadening your discography is going to be the great way, not just because you don't want to get tired of listening to Taylor Swift, not that you can, but if it's just not your thing, that's okay. We still love and respect you as well. I would definitely say broadening that discography, because like we're seeing now, we're having these down markets where freight's tight, capacity is plentifully. It's readily available. And so basically, you don't want to be left out saying, well, I have all these produce shippers, but I don't really have any freight, and I'm not really getting awarded anything. And so being able to have multiple shippers and being able to kind of spread yourself out, like, yeah, you absolutely can still have dry van, even if you have specialty doing produce, or if you have specialty doing automotive. You don't have to limit yourself off to one vertical. Actually, I would strongly advise against it, because if you might have that niche, but you also need to have some other stuff over here, because if one industry is having a really, really bad day, then you don't want your entire business to get tanked. You want to be able to diversify, so that way, if, like we saw during the pandemic, automotive was not doing so hot because there was no cars being produced. So if my business was primarily hauling cars, I'm not looking too great. But if I had produce, on the other hand, that one was going like gangbusters. And then I think having a healthy mix of everything, but ultimately, like, everyone can do dry van. It's not that difficult. I definitely think that having that one specialty that makes you unique really helps you get into some of those more specialty areas. So definitely diversification. That's going to be the key.
And sticking on this Taylor Swift theme that I never thought I would find myself in, when you're talking about really finding and developing a niche, and one of the big things I think of that's important is having that verbiage and that terminology down. I can only imagine if you call yourself a Taylor Swift fan and you misspeak the lyrics while you're singing out loud, you start looking a little bit funny in the dark. Can you talk to the importance of being able to talk the terms in some of these certain niches? Because I can only imagine if you start misspeaking on the phone, you start looking a little bit shaky and people start losing confidence in your abilities.
Exactly. Just like if you go to a Speak Now launch party and you don't know any of the words to Speak Now, it's going to be kind of like, are you sure that you want to be here? This might not be your thing. But something to remember, though, that is, if you have that experience, obviously, if you're going to start going into if you're going to start your own company and specialize in something, make it something that you're really good at. Like for me, I would never do anything refrigerated LTL because I don't know anything about it. I would never do anything with air cargo shipping or freight or ocean shipping because I'm just not experienced in it. But the biggest thing is stick with what you know. So if you know and you have those contacts in the produce space, in the automotive space, any industry that you might also have those contacts at a shipper, 100% start there, get that knowledge. And also don't be afraid to ask questions. Just know that, like, okay, so most produce shippers have a problem with like lettuce wilting or product getting damaged before it gets there. So just say, hey, how are you addressing this? Start your conversation with, I know this is really, this is some tricky stuff that you have to ship. These are some of the common problems that shippers are having with it. How do you handle this as a shipper? Or same with when a broker calls a shipper, shippers flip it on them. Say, how do you make sure that my product doesn't get damaged? And if they don't know the answers to how to ship your product, maybe don't do it.
I think that all of us here in logistics could take a page out of the Swifties book, start trading friendship bracelets at conferences, right? Like instead of the swag, we tune friendship bracelets with everybody's logos on it, and we'll all be good together.
You know what? I'm here for all the Taylor Swift
Exactly. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mary. Have a great time at the concert tonight. We will talk to her next week. Right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.